So the last Ayaka video I did, I didn't have that great of a build, and people really didn't like that and use that to run and say that I wasn't doing a proper showcase. Well, nobody said that, but they really like to cope for this character. Let's go ahead, now that I have a top 13/15% build, let's go ahead, guys, and show off how Ayaka works. Let's show off how amazing Ayaka is now that I made her a top whatever percent. You know, it's gonna be great, right? It's gonna be great. Ayaka's not, you know, she's still competitive. She can still clear the content. I mean, she still can, probably, but, you know, don't act like that's a feat. It really isn't. You know, you're not gonna clear the content because Ayaka carried. You're gonna clear the content because the other half carried. So first thing on the agenda here is we're gonna start off with a Shinha E skill, then Xilonen, then, you know, Fiorina, then we'll do a Q skill with Shinha. Actually, what is Shinha's Q skill duration? I think it's yeah, duration is only 12 seconds, so we'll do the Q with Shinha, but we need to preserve her second, you know, charge attack. So I'll show you guys what I mean. So here we have all of this. We're gonna have Fiorina here. She's gonna do this, then we'll pop this with you. And, alright, now we'll have Ayaka, and Ayaka's gonna go ahead and hit 34,000, and then we're gonna see 60,000, 36,000. Don't know the entire burst. I'll probably actually go ahead and we'll count all of that. But, you know, that's not a insane amount. I mean, 60,000 after you got the Shinha buff. Okay, I tried to sprint cancel, and it just didn't happen because Shinha sucks, in every single way. The Shinha buff did actually work out very, very strongly for us there. It just wasn't really that great because, I don't know. We saw 36,000 from Ayaka at the start, and then as soon as we did Shinha's E-skill afterwards, it was like, oh wow, we actually have duration. And she went up to 60,000. I mean, that's not unimpressive. I'll say that, you know, 60,000. If she was doing 60,000 per burst tick, right? If she was doing that much damage per burst tick, she would do 1.2 million damage, which isn't bad, right? But it's nowhere near, you know, a good amount, honestly. There's literally a comment that was like talking about 1.2 million damage, you know, come to me with a team that does 1.2 million damage. And it's like, that's actually kind of the standard at this point. You know, ever since 4.0, I feel like a million damage plus has been the very high, like, not even high standard. I think that's just was the baseline for a lot of 5 stars. I think the only character I think I could confidently say didn't reach that was Risley, right? I think originally Risley would not have been able to reach a 1.2 million damage rotation super easily. Although, you know, initially he did have, you know, Shangling and Fiorina on top of him, so they were doing a lot of damage. But in terms of his personal damage, no. So, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to try this out again. I mean, you know, that it's not bad. You know, we saw 36,000 as our lowest. I mean, that is 720,000 damage, right? Can't, you know, be too upset, right? All right, so then we'll have this, and then we'll do another E-skill. Okay, well, you know, what do you want me to do? You guys, listen. If there is anybody who actually knows the Capybara's attack patterns, it's me. You know, and I also know that for showcase purposes, this guy is like, you're gonna end up being sucking, right? So we saw there 34,000, which is 680,000. So, you know, it's not bad. We lost a little bit there. I don't know exactly why. Maybe he was out of Shinha's, you know, res reduction range or something. I don't know why. But let's go ahead and let's actually, you know, just try out Ayaka on this first Tulpa guy, because it should be a little easier. The only issue we'll see here is that Fiorina isn't going to do anything basically in terms of damage. But, you know, we're just here to have fun and see what kind of damage we can do. And I will not overlook, because I haven't talked about it, we did 70,000 on her E-skill. Ayaka's E-skill has always kind of been surprisingly good. Oh, I just realized, huh? So, well, I don't know, honestly. I don't know, honestly. Yeah, 70,000 on the E-skill again, and then we'll have this guy, 50,000, 40,000, and 35. Yep, you can see that. I mean, it's not bad. It's not bad. It's not bad. I certainly would want more energy recharge on my Ayaka. You know, we'll see what Miss Coffee does, because Miss Coffee will be on Xilonen, right? So yeah, this does help her, but keep in mind that she does have this buff currently, which is giving her 20% extra attack, which let me go ahead and see. Hold on, chat. All right, so looking at the top 1% boss Ayaka, hold on, I might be able to compete with the top 1% boss guy. So let's look at his sort of dealo. So 64% crit rate, we cannot compete with that. The literal best boss Ayaka build, well, hold on. So if we're saying versus a boss, the literal best boss Ayaka build, right? It has 104 energy recharge. It's awful. I'm be honest. Ayaka needs at least like 140. I feel like she really does. She needs a lot of energy recharge, so that's pretty useful on her. Would be nice to have some on mine, but let's go ahead and look at this. So, all right. So I have, so the number one guy has 2,131 attack on the team. How much attack do I have? I have 2,138 attack. And the top guy has 280 crit damage. And I have a C2 Xilonen, meaning I have the best Ayaka build in the world right now. Or I actually have better than the best Ayaka build in the world right now. And she don't really feel that great. She don't. She don't. She does not an awful amount of damage, right? But not a damage that I'm like, oh wow, you know, it's not like that. You just can't, you know. I will say though, Shinha has actually, though the biggest takeaway I have from this video, Shinha has impressed me quite a bit. Because normally I don't get to see the damage difference between Ayaka burst and all this, because by the time you've you know, gone ahead, you do your E skill, then you do you know, a hit with your normal, and you don't really get to see, you know, Shinha buffing Ayaka, you know, with her quills on the second time. However, Shinha did, and it went up from 36,000 to 61,000. That is very impressive, I'm gonna be honest. That's an extra like 150,000 damage from using your E skill again on Shinha, so it's not bad. You know, I definitely feel like if I were to look at any character in this video and be like, huh, that's impressive, it would actually be Shinha, because I really was down on this character until I saw that. That's it makes me like her a little bit more, you know, if I'm being entirely honest. But Ayaka though, no, she just doesn't. I mean, 70,000 damage on a level 7, you know, talent here. That's not bad by any means. I don't think we can call that bad. But in terms of her personal damage, it just ain't it, right? And we're gonna see Miss Coffee is gonna go ahead and take that away. So yeah, I mean, this was the Ayaka redo of the video, because people were very, you know, they ran with my, oh, her build sucks, you know, and, you know, now technically, you know, if you look at my whaled status, I literally have a better build than the top 1% guy. He has 68% crit rate, but I mean, I think we crit most of the time in this video. Like, I don't think we were like even close to not critting most of the time, so I would not look at this as a fault. I'll be honest, I wouldn't. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you did enjoy, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.